Hello friends, welcome to Money Law Classes. Today in this video I am going to discuss the Daily Hindu analysis of September 23rd, 2021. तो न्यूज़ की तरफ चलते हैं. जो फर्स्ट न्यूज़ which is coming is Covishield fine but not Indian certification. This is a statement by the United Kingdom. So the issue is going on of that discrimination that the certification given in India to the fully vaccinated people is not valid in United Kingdom. इसका मेन रीज़न ये है कि कोविशील्ड को तो रिकग्निशन मिल गया है. ओके, सो इफ एनी पर्सन फ्रॉम अदर कंट्री हैज टेकन द कोविशील्ड एंड he or she has a certificate, that person is allowed to travel in the United Kingdom. But if anybody from India has taken the Covishield vaccine and he has completed the double dose and he or she has received the certification, but still that person has to go compulsory or mandatory 10-day quarantine in UK. This is why, because UK is saying that India is still in the amber list, not in the green list. So India is still in the amber list. So anybody traveling from India, regardless of the vaccination status, they have to go for the 10-day quarantine. The only thing is that the quarantine, it can be home quarantine, not quarantine in a hotel. The second is that UK has cleared 18 countries, which includes Canada, Denmark, Antigua and Barbuda for the green list, which will allow the fully vaccinated travelers from these countries to enter UK without any quarantine requirement. Now coming to the next news, rupees 50,000 for each COVID death. So already the issue was going with the Supreme Court that how much relief should be paid to the person next of kin of the person who has died of COVID-19 under section 12(3) of the Disaster Management Act of 2005. So the Ministry of Home Affairs has now informed the Supreme Court that the National Disaster Management Authority, they have recommended the payment of rupees 50,000 each as the ex gratia assistance to the next of kin of those who have died of COVID-19, including those who succumbed to the virus while involved in relief operations and preparedness activities. यहाँ पे अगर एक प्रॉब्लम आती है कि अगर somebody does not have the proper document, so in those cases of those grievances, so the Health Ministry and ICMR has prescribed the district level committees, which will comprise of additional district collector, chief medical officer, additional principal or HOD medicine of a medical college, and a subject expert. They will propose the necessary remedial measures and issuance of amended official document for COVID-19 death after verifying the facts related to death. The next question comes that who will provide this rupees 50,000 ex gratia relief? That it will be provided by the State Disaster Response Fund, SDRF. Now one-liner news, Professor Yogesh Singh, who is currently the Vice Chancellor of Delhi Technological University, has been appointed as the new Vice Chancellor of the University of Delhi. Okay, the University of Delhi did not have any permanent Vice Chancellor since Yogesh Tyagi was suspended in October last year. Now we will continue this news on the page number 8 also. This is very important news that WHO tightens the global air quality norms. इसके साथ साथ हम इंडिया का भी देखेंगे, National Ambient Air Quality Standards of India, which is not meeting the WHO's existing norms. So we do it here itself so that there is a continuity. Now see, the news is that the WHO rules which were notified last in 2005. Now see, the annual mean of PM means particulate matters. They are very small particles which can be inhaled and which causes respiratory and cardiovascular problems. So earlier the presence of PM 2.5 was 10 microgram per cubic meter. Now it has been updated to 5. If we will see the India's limit under the National Ambient Air Quality Standards and NAAQS, so the upper limit is 40. Then PM 2.4 24-hour mean, the WHO 2005 was 25 microgram per cubic meter. The updated one is 15. अगर हम इंडिया का देखेंगे, so it is very high at 60. Then PM 10, ये जो PM 2.5 PM10 is the diameter of that very small particulate matters. So PM10 right now for WHO the upper limit is 15 and in India it is again 60. Then PM10 24-hour mean for WHO updated it is 45, for India it is 100. Okay, so these are the tightening of the norms and this is the Indian standards to be followed. The India का जो standard है इसको कहते हैं National Ambient Air Quality Standard. So it is not meeting the WHO existing rule, but the government has a dedicated national clean air program that aims to reduce the particulate matter concentration in air for a 20 to 30% by 2024 in 122 cities, keeping 2017 as the base year. Okay. Now the last time the NAAQ which was revised was in 2009. Now why this tightening of global air quality norms is important? Because there is a growing realization that air pollution is directly related to health crisis. So improvement in air pollution, improvement in the air is very important for health. Now coming to the next important news, yesterday was the World Rhino Day 2005. So rhinos, they are vulnerable under the IUCN list, IUCN red list, and there are 5 species of rhinos in the world. So one is black rhino, white rhino, one-horned rhino which is found in India, then Sumatran rhino and Javan rhino. There are 5 species of rhino. Of this, if we see these black and white rhinos found in Africa, they are 2-horned. Then this Sumatra, they have 2-horned, and rest of them have 1-horn. Okay. Now in India, if we will see, so rhinos, they are found, especially they are found in UP, some of the national parks of UP also, Assam also, and West Bengal also. But if we see that the Kaziranga has the highest number of one-horned rhino. So the world's Rhino Day, on this day 2,500 horns were turned to ashes in Assam. Now rhinos are hunted for their horns and it is believed that they have aphrodisiac value. Aphrodisiac value. What is the meaning of aphrodisiac value? It type of medicinal value which increases the sexual power. That's why they are hunted. Okay, so this is a myth and this horn was burnt, so that it highlights that there is a myth, there is a no scientific details are attached that the body parts of one or rhinos can be beneficial to humans. Along with that, the state government of Assam has also decided to set up a natural history museum near the national park to showcase the preserved horns. We will come to editorials at the end of our video session. Now this type of news will start increasing to come in the newspaper. So see, drug haul, role of Pakistani elements being examined. So the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence is questioning the suspects arrested in connection with the 3000 kg heroin seizure in the Mundra port in Gujarat, which we have done earlier. The agency has so far arrested 8 persons, which include, now see, 4 are Afghan nationals, 1 is Uzbek and 3 are India. So I have already discussed about the Golden Crescent in one of my shorts, GK shorts. So Golden Crescent is the region comprising of 3 countries, Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan. It is the world's largest opium producing area in the region in the world, and through it the drug trafficking of heroin takes place towards South Asia, which is considered as a very good market for heroin, and the money obtained from it is used for terror financing. So right now the vigilance has increased around India so that this drug trafficking does not take place in India. Now Mopla rebellion, the talk is going on. So Mopla rebellion, it is also called as Malabar rebellion. The rebellion took place in 1921. Malabar rebellion. So it took place in 1921. So Malabar right now is in Kerala, but at that point of time it was a part of Madras Presidency. So Moplas were the Muslim peasants. So it was a peasant revolt against the Jamindars and the British government due to rising rent. and many people were killed over here. There is also a famous tragedy associated with Mopla rebellion. We call it wagon tragedy. So a number of people who were arrested, they were put into a wagon. The wagon was closed and then they were transported to prison. So this is all the important points related to Mopla rebellion, which was a peasant revolt against Jamindars and British government in Kerala in 1921. Now the Tamil Nadu governor is R.N. Ravi. So R.N. Ravi, who was earlier the governor of Nagaland, now has taken over as the governor of Tamil Nadu, and he has resigned as the Naga interlocutor. Now who has been appointed as the Naga interlocutor? So the chief minister of Assam, okay, is holding talks. Okay, he is now holding talks with NSC and IM, as we did it last day, with the National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Isak Muiva. Along with that, currently former Intelligence Bureau Special Director A.K. Mishra has been appointed as an advisor in the ministry, and now currently he is holding talks with NSC and IM, and he may be succeeding R.N. Ravi. So yesterday we saw that two chief ministers of Nagaland and Assam, they talked and to arrive at certain settlements, as we already know that Assam already has a boundary dispute with Mizoram also, along with that with Nagaland also, Meghalaya and Arunachal Pradesh. So under that the talk was held last time. Now this is the center's talk with NSC and IM. So this will be in future may be headed by Special Director Intelligence Bureau A.K. Mishra. Now coming about Mr. R.N. Ravi, so he was a 1976 batch IPS officer of Kerala cadre, and he retired as the Special Director of Intelligence Bureau in 2012. Now, last day we did that government had filed an affidavit in Supreme Court allowing that a woman can take NDA exam in May 2022. Now the Supreme Court has said that no, the woman should be allowed to take the NDA exam in the upcoming exam by UPSC in November 2021. Now company Hetero Biopharma has got a proposal to manufacture the Sputnik 5 vaccine in India, and has been given the approval by the Drugs Controller General of India. Now coming to Assam government flags Mizoram's encroachment. So some of the important factual statements over here are that Mizoram has been encroaching upon land in Assam along the 164.6 km interstate boundary since 1980. Now if we see, the heart of the conflict is 1318 square kilometer inner line reserve forest along the boundary. Now this inner line reserve forest is actually Lushai Hills. So earlier Mizoram was the part of Assam, and there were certain areas in Mizoram which was called as Lushai Hills. So there was prohibition of general public to enter Lushai Hills without special permission. So this prohibition is called as inner line reserve forest. So if some forests are reserved for tribals and outsiders are not allowed to enter, they are called as inner line reserve forest. So this Lushai Hills was demarcated from rest of the Assam through this inner line reserve forest. Later this area became the state of Mizoram. So Mizoram first became Union Territory in 1972 and then state in 1987. Okay, so there is a dispute related to that, and then what is happening over now is that there is not a clear demarcation of inner line reserve forest. Like the people of Mizoram, they follow 1873 demarcation, but the government has notified the demarcation of 1933, which is not acceptable to Mizoram people, and hence they consider larger area than Lushai Hills as the part of Mizoram, and the encroachment is continuing. Then about the appointments, Rajiv Bansal, who was earlier the chairman and managing director of Air India, has been appointed as the Civil Aviation Secretary. Now from economy we have some important news. Greater automation may lead to slack in the labor market, according to the RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das. Now automation means that humans will be replaced by machines for improving the productivity. So if that starts happening, then the unemployment in India will further increase. Okay, so that is one of the danger which can emerge from greater automation. Next is India is likely to block Chinese investment in LIC, citing trust deficit. Then DICGC, it is the Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation. So recently, by the Act of Parliament, the insurance over deposits in bank was raised from rupees 1 lakh to 5 lakh, and the limit in which that rupees 5 lakh has to be given to the customer was 90 days. So under that amended act, now the Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation of India will give 5 lakh within 90 days to 21 urban cooperative banks depositors, including PMC Bank. The next one liner is that FDI in India more than doubled to $20.42 billion in first quarter of 2021, that is April, May, June up to July. Okay, so the FDI has rose in this. The top recipient is Karnataka with 45% share of total FDI equity inflows, which is followed by Maharashtra and Delhi. Now some foreign news, important. Now Taliban want to address the world at the United Nations. So Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi, he has made the request to United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Monday that they want to send a Taliban representative to Afghanistan. Currently, the person who is representing Afghanistan in the United Nations General Assembly is Ghulam Isakzai. Now he was appointed by the Abdul Ghani government. Now since the Abdul Ghani government is not there in Afghanistan, is a Taliban's government in Afghanistan. Now they want their representative to be to replace Ghulam Isakzai. Now this latter has to be decided by a 9-member credential committee whose members include United States, China and Russia. Then Sri Lanka's president Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he has promised to engage the Tamil diaspora. So after the defeat of LTTE in Sri Lanka, the issue of political solution to Tamil issue is still hanging in spite of various promises made by past government of Sri Lanka at United Nations General Assembly, and even after passing of several resolutions at United Nations General Assembly. Now the 76th session of the United General Assembly is taking place, where Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that the Tamil issue in Sri Lanka is an internal issue, and there should be an internal mechanism to resolve this issue, which has been welcomed by Tamil groups in Sri Lanka. And we have to see that how the Tamil repatriation and reconciliation takes place in Sri Lanka. The major problem over here is that Tamils, they don't have political rights, and they are demanding the political rights in Sri Lanka. Now just a following news that after AUKUS, the United States decided to supply nuclear powered submarine to Australia, and Australia cancelled its diesel electric submarine manufacturing with DCNS, a company based in France, which has led to tensions between Australia and France, and now US is trying to smoothen this tension between Australia and France. Then US is to donate 500 million Pfizer doses to poor countries. So it was the commitment made by the US that to provide about 1 billion doses to the developing world, especially to low and lower middle income countries. Now US is going to donate out of 1 billion 500 million Pfizer doses to the developing low and lower middle income countries. Now important announcement from China. So China is saying that they will stop funding the coal projects overseas, and China will step up the support for other developing countries in developing the green and low carbon energy. Okay, the China has decided its net zero emission target at 2060. Now we will come at editorials. Now GST Council meeting has taken place, and many decisions had been taken over there. So now some of the problem which is emerging over here is that the state's compensation, when there is a shortfall in GST revenue, so the states they suffer, so the central government has to compensate. So some of the problems have not been yet decided. Second is there was a rate tweaks in GST, including that of footwear and textiles. So we have already done that textiles and footwear of costing below ₹1,000, they will attract now GST at 12%. Then the next is about the GST cess on automobiles, tobacco and aerated drinks, which was going to end in June 2022, will continue till April 2026. The next is that petroleum is not included into the GST currently. So Kerala High Court has proposed to include petroleum products and crude oil into a GST4, but it has not been included. Okay, so these are some of the thorny issues in GST Council which needs to be discussed. Now just we should know again, we should revise it, that the Justin Trudeau has been elected as the Prime Minister of election for the third time. He has his Liberal Party. He is a leader of the Liberal Party, which got 158 seats, and the seats required for majority is 170. Now coming to the main article, this article is talking about the process of selection of judges. So it starts with the problem that Justice Qureshi name did not appear in August 17 list of the collegium for the elevation purpose. So it is now noting that there is a need of some transparency. So the article starts with some historical background, that separation of power is the bedrock of Indian constitutionalism, and under that there should be a separation of power from executive and judiciary. Okay, and independence of judiciary has to be maintained, and that there is need to strike a balance between the sovereign function of making appointments, sovereign function means function of the government, and need to ensure an independent judiciary. So this question came up in the front of Constituent Assembly of India, where Dr. B.R. Ambedkar prescribed middle course. Now what was this middle course? The middle course was that judges of the Supreme Court are to be appointed by the President of India in consultation with the Chief Justice of India and such other judges that he deems fit. It is covered under Article 124 of the Constitution. Okay, Article 124 of the Constitution pertains to the appointment of judges and removal of judges. Further, judges to the High Courts are to be appointed by the President in consultation with the CJI, the Governor of the state, and the Chief Justice of that court. In case of transfer, the President may move a judge from one High Court to another after consulting the CJI. Now this provision of appointing the judges of the High Court, it is under Article 217. It is under Article 217. So over here it is a middle ground that consultation of CJI is important in appointment of judges, and consultation of governor and CJI and the Chief Justice of that High Court is necessary for the appointment and transfer of judges of the High Court. तो यहाँ पे क्या है कि एक बैलेंस है, एग्जीक्यूटिव और जुडिशरी दोनों को एक बैलेंस दिया गया है कि दोनों के कंसल्टेशन से, दोनों के राय से ही जजेस का अपॉइंटमेंट होगा. बट नाउ द थिंग्स चेंज फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट जजेस केसेस. तो फर्स्ट जजेस केस विच केम इन 1981. ओके, सो यहाँ से देखिए चीज़ें कैसे होंगी. इन 1981 द फर्स्ट जजेस केस कम्स. इट इज ऑल्सो नोन एज SP Gupta केस. इट सेड दैट primacy of the CJI in recommending the judges can be refused by the executive or president for the cogent reason. मतलब कि फर्स्ट जज केस ने it gave primacy to executive, मतलब president, who to appoint and who not to appoint. And if president is not convinced with the decisions or with the decisions of the Chief Justice of India, then president can take his or her own decision. But second judge's case of 1993, this is very landmark because it established the collegium system. It established the collegium system, the judgment said that now there will be a collegium system which will comprise of one chief justice and two senior most judge, and this collegium system will recommend the appointment of judges of the Supreme Court and High Court to the President of India, and President of India has to concur with the advice of the collegium. Later, in third judge's case of 1998, the collegium was expanded. Okay, so earlier it was consisting of one chief justice and two senior most judge of Supreme Court, and now it consisted of one chief justice and four senior most judges of Supreme Court. Okay, so this system was laid. But now what is the problem over here is that then comes the NJAC. The NJAC is National Judicial Appointment Committee. This committee was proposed by the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, but later on, citing that this act may impede the independence of judiciary, this NJAC was invalidated by Supreme Court in 4 judges cases. But the Supreme Court said that it will work on the memorandum of procedure for appointment of judges laid down, and it will improve the appointment process, making it more transparent. But the Supreme Court has not, but still it is not clear. Okay, the memorandum of procedure has not been updated. So over here the author is suggesting that chief justices are moved, means transferred from one place to another without any alacrity, without any proper information that on what basis the decision has been taken. Okay, and we have to think of some improvement in the existing system. Now a flawed calculation of inflation. So from economic point of view, this article is very important for us. So over here the author, who is a retired professor of JNU, he is saying that if we compare this year with the last year, there is some problem because of the lockdown. First, we could not collect the data, we could not collect the comprehensive data. Second, if we talk about the WPI, so WPI only caters for goods or production and not for services. The second is that during the lockdown, the people, the consumption basket of the people underwent change, and also the consumption basket of rich and poor are very different. So we need a comprehensive data collection to arrive at the inflation figure. Second, it says that the consumer confidence, which is very necessary to revive the demand in the economy, that has to be increased, that saw a dent. तो जो 2020 जनवरी में just before the lockdown, which was 105, it came down to 55.5 within a year. Okay, and then consumer confidence could not recover, and because of the lockdown, employment and incomes were going down. 230 million people slipped below the poverty line. अब जो poverty line में चला जाएगा तो उसका क्या होगा, उसका consumption basket change हो जाएगा. ओके, सो द वेट इन मीन्स क्या होगा कि गरीब लोगों का मैक्सिमम खर्चा खाने पे होता है. ठीक है, तो खाने का वेट ज़्यादा होना चाहिए टू डिटरमाइन द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन ऑन कॉमन पीपल. ओके, द सेकेंड अगर हम बात करें तो कोविड-19 के टाइम सर्विसेज में भी चेंज आया. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम व्हाट वाज हैपनिंग, द एक्सपेंडिचर ऑन हेल्थ सर्विसेज एंड एजुकेशन, बिकॉज ऑफ चेंज इन द पैटर्न ऑफ एजुकेशन फ्रॉम ऑफलाइन टू ऑनलाइन, it went quite up. Second is कि इंडिया की अगर हम बात करें, so 95% of the workers are from unorganized sector, and they mostly earn and they mostly have very low income and low savings. But due to lockdown, many of them they lost their employment or their wages were quite low, and this had impacted their family budget. So because of this, what happened? The demand in the economy decreased, and if there was a decrease in demand, it slowed down the economic recovery. ठीक है, एंड एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन. उसके साथ साथ क्या हुआ कि अगर एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन नहीं है, डिमांड नहीं है, प्रोडक्शन नहीं हो रहा है, लोगों के पास नौकरी नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट टैक्स नहीं कर सकती, तो गवर्नमेंट के पास इनकम नहीं होगा, तो गवर्नमेंट के पास बजटरी डेफिसिट आ जाएगा, खर्चा ज़्यादा कमाई कम. So what happened, it put the budget on the government budgetary expenditure, especially on the सोशल सेक्टर. अब गवर्नमेंट ने सोशल सेक्टर पे खर्च करना कम किया तो इसका सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट इस पे पड़ेगा पुअर पीपल पे. ओके, सो इट लेड टू द very vicious cycle of slowing of the economy and growing crisis in the lives of poor and unemployed. Next, it says there are certain factors which are underlying the increase in inflation. The first is that government has increased the taxation on petroleum products, which is itself raising the prices of goods and services in India. The second is about that lockdown disrupted the supply of essential commodities, especially food, medicine and medical equipment, and their prices rose. Okay, and second was that because of the closure of the unorganized sector, big businesses they raised their price, which led to inflation. The next is international factors. Okay, most major economies which they recovered and demand for input that increased while supplies remained same, adding to the commodity inflation, especially in metals. Now sea level rise. यहाँ पे एक IPCC का रिपोर्ट का बात हो रहा है. द IPCC रिपोर्ट इंटरगवर्नमेंटल पैनल ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज, इनका एक रिपोर्ट है क्लाइमेट चेंज 2021 द फिजिकल साइंस बेसिस. इट हैज टॉक्ड अबाउट द 5 मॉडल्स. ओके, दोज 5 मॉडल्स आर the 5 scenarios: very low and low GHG emissions, okay, then high and very high, and the next one is intermediate. In all the cases it can be seen that if the temperature exceed 2 degrees Celsius near at around 2050, okay, and in the worst case scenario, in the good case scenario, it may be around 1.09 degree Celsius. So what will happen because of this? There will be a rise in sea level. Now when there is a rise in sea level, okay, so mainly because of expansion of warm ocean waters, melting of glaciers on land, and melting of ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica, it will lead to rise in global mean sea level. Now when there is a rise in global mean sea level, the coastal areas are impacted. So if we see India, so communities along the coast in India are more vulnerable to sea level rise and storms. They will be accompanied by storm surges, heavy rainfall and flooding. In India, even 0.1 meter to 0.2 meter rise along the coastal area will lead to frequent coastal flooding. Okay, so what we have to do? We have to adopt certain measures like adaptation to sea level rise, okay, which should include coastal regulation, stricter laws, especially the coastal regulation zones. Those has to be updated. So we have to take some drastic measures to protect our coastal areas. So that's all for today. We will meet again tomorrow with the new daily Hindu news analysis. Till then, take care, have a nice day. Thank you.